Namaste, Marchna Pami, welcome back. So, wrapping up the first or the Discover Yin series with this fourth topic, which is how to put it in action, right? So, we talked about understanding the mind, um, how we are always processing things where pain is caused by people or by your own self with your feedback loop of thoughts, then towards understanding how yoga as a practice, the whole eight limbs of it, helps in freeing the mind. And thirdly was more about strong body, so you can practice moments of stillness and you can do deep meditation techniques and so forth. The final one that I'm going to talk about is more about how do you put it in action on a day to day basis. So for this, I will be lastly using two more concepts. Now, I use these concepts because it's easier for me to explain as is without referencing these concepts. But there are people who have elaborated it and beautifully, uh, you know, used terminologies to express what they are. And I want to use them so that it makes more sense when you are doing something, you have something to tie down to and say that, hey, is this what I'm doing? Am I attaching myself to a duality, or am I attaching myself to labels? Or am I practicing a yama, or am I practicing a niyama, restraints or observances? Or am I doing pranayama? Like you need to know those practices or techniques so that you know that you have some checkpoint, right? I mean, this is what you're doing. So that's the reason I use these concepts, and I'm only picking and choosing the ones which are very relevant for somebody like us in this modern world to quickly adapt and if not follow the complete pathway yet. Um, so two concepts. One that I'm going to be talking about, going back to Sankhya. Sankhya introduces three things called as three gunas or behaviors, and they are called tamas, rajas, and sattva. So we'll talk about those three things and what is the guna that you want to have generally day to day is what we're going to talk about. The other concept that I want to talk about is more from, let's say, a neuroscience aspect. And this is more about when you are exercising or when you are under stress or too much of pressure during the day. How do you go about using your nervous system and autonomous control of your nervous system, and how do you underplay it or overplay it through the choice of your through the use of your breath. So let's start with the Sankhya topics about Sankhya, or about the three gunas. So tamas, rajas, and sattva. I'm pretty sure you would have heard about the terminology of the sattvic diet. There is a guna itself called as sattva. Now let me start with the reverse, right? So tamas. Tamas is something which is continuing to be in its own state. Inertia, for example, or very sluggish and lazy. So it's a mood or a quality that you extend. Say, for example, you just woke up from your bed. There could be people who want to spring up and suddenly do something. But imagine you had a long working day or you had traveled the day before. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you feel a little bit sluggish, right? So that moment is what is called as tamas. And if if you have been one of those childs who wakes up very late, I'm pretty sure one of your parents would have been yanking you or screaming at you, or like my father, pouring water at you to wake you up to get you out of the tamas state as well. So that is one guna, that is tamas, which is you know slow, sluggish, inactive. It's not that it is a bad guna to have. It is. It is also a guna. It is also a behavior. So it still exists. You just can't eradicate it. So do not think that tamas is bad. There are moments when tamas is very good as well, because it helps you relax. It helps you refresh yourself. Otherwise, you're always running around rajasic, rajas guna. Rajas is that, I think they call it as a mobile or chala. So which means to say that. You are in a state of movement. You are constantly doing something, doing this, doing that, getting this, going to work, you're cooking, you're exercising, you're running around, you're shopping, you're doing this, I'm watching TV, I'm watching YouTube, I'm replying to an email, I'm doing all this. So many things happening at once or is that movement, right? And that is rajasic. And again, rajasic as a guna is very critical. I think that is how your entire body converts, all the sugar or all of that into glucose, into energy to power your body and everything. It keeps you agile and moving. But when you talk about it as a behavior, you see, when I explained that you're doing so many things, everything we do through the day, starting from the moment you wake up to checking your phone to switching on heater to do that and then go and brush and eat and then take bath, get ready, do work or clean up the house or then eat and then do this. It's so mechanical, it's so fast. um, it's completely in that mode of rajasic. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, do this, do that, do this, do that, and there's no pause. The Sattva, I think it's called as illumination, is more on a lighter note, or rather an awareness note. So these are three different gunas that I talked about. So Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. All these three are are really required in life. Do not let anybody tell you that you don't have to be Rajasic or you don't have to be Tamasic or you don't have to be Sattvic. Only Rajasic, Tamasic, or only Sattvic. A combination should exist. But when it comes to living life, when it comes to interacting with people, or when it comes to, even your way of dealing with movement in a day, like exercises or how you eat, how do you clean yourself, how do you take bath, a lot of these actions can slowly be turned from Rajasic to Sattvic. Now, why I'm asking you to turn it to Sattvic, a moment of awareness and illumination so that you can be at peace. I'll give an example. So, if you've seen the first two, three videos, you would notice that the first video was shot in a different location where there was a wooden house, and the second video was shot in this location. So when I was shooting, that was on a weekend, Sunday morning, and usually I come to this place, and then there are generally very few people in this particular park that I come to. And that day was a Sunday, so there were three men who came over to that location to start playing football. And of course, when you're playing, you're not going to be quiet, and I'm recording, and I definitely needed some amount of quietness. Moment was caused when I was feeling a little disturbed because the people who are playing and I here was recording. So there's no debate about whether that being important or this being important. I will tell you how I went from a Rajasic mode to a Sattvic mode and how things worked out for me as well. At that moment, I was disturbed. I was like, should I ask them to, move a little bit that side or keep it low or, you know, or the other school of thought, the feminist inside me suddenly wakes up and says, always men do this to women. They oppress, they want you to move, and they want to show who is, you know, greater or things like that. Or the ego battle. Why should I move? I came here first. They came later. They can move. That would have been a complete Rajasic mode where, you go processing about what is right, what is wrong, giving ego the priority or giving feminism the priority, all of that in that particular moment. To a Sattvic assessment was like, okay, it's a Sunday, three people are playing and they're playing a physical game. It is very good. This is, even I am doing something good. So what do I do? Now, being aware of the entire park, I knew of a lot of places where I could go and record, but that was the only place that they could play. So it was an easy choice for me to just get up and pack up and then come to another location and restart my shooting. Ironically, to another place where I went, there were four more people sitting there. My thought was like, okay, what do I do now? And beautifully enough, those people were done for the day and they saw me and they started walking away, just giving space for me to do my thing in this area. And you see how I went from a completely Rajasic mode to Sattvic mode, and things worked out for me. I didn't have to, you know, sit with the discomfort and record with background noise or fight with them and say that, hey, I came here first, why don't you go somewhere else and play? This is, I came to another place where I could be at peace and, sit and relax and enjoy and record. And there are a lot of beautiful flowering plants here. So I was greeted with beautiful dawn song of the birds that are coming in to suck the nectar from those flowers. So it turned out to be something amazing. Like I said, this is a simple example where I chose or I became aware that I could choose an attitude of being rajasic or sattvic, and I chose to do the sattvic. Now, this may not be practically applicable to every scenarios that you go through. You will have to make the choice of sometimes being rajasic, sometimes being tamasic, lazy, or sometimes being at peace, at ease, at illuminated or aware kind of a state. Now, for most part, conflicts arise and those vrittis come to you when you choose to be in the rajasic mode. So take a decision, wise decision. What is the outcome that you want? And most of the times you'll realize that reacting or attacking it may only make it worse for you. Forget about the other party. We're talking about you yourself first. It may make it worse for you. So you want to keep yourself at peace. So if if your partner is not moving around or not doing, go somewhere else and do something. Somebody is making noise, try to close the door and then probably stay calm. Or if you plan to go somewhere and that restaurant is not working, you can, or they're not serving what you want, you can always fight with them. The least you can do is pack up and move to another restaurant and have something there. So the choice is always yours, is whether you want to be rajasic or tamasic, lazy and not do anything about it, to go to sattvic state. And remember, the choice is always yours because that choice is only going to change your mood at any point in time. You could be agitated, or you could be ignorant, or you could be at bliss. So make that decision accordingly when it comes to relationships, when it comes to food, or when it comes to the working style, or learning. I mean, I'm learning a new art to sketch. There are times that I don't do it properly, and then I'm like, I don't even know to sketch versus, okay, I did so good. Let me try to learn something else or take another course so that I can even improve it better. In everything that you do, you can always switch your mind, which goes into that frenzy of noise, to a calmer state. And that choice lies with you. That is the first one. Now, talking about uh, the second concept, and I'm going to talk about this concept as an add on to what I just talked about. And this is science. Okay, so you can always come and tell me that whatever you said is all conceptually applicable, it doesn't work. But let's talk science now. So there are different how do I put it? There are different sections of the nervous system, and you can probably find it somewhere. I'll probably put a picture of the basic demarcation or the hierarchy of how the nervous system splits into a central nervous system, and there is then your peripheral nervous system, which runs from your spinal cord to the different organs in your body, which controls and everything. And there is a motory division which controls the movement, and again one is autonomous and one is manual, like you have to move your hands and legs. The autonomous is how blood flows through your entire system. All these signals are being sent by your nervous system. The two nervous systems which are autonomous control but still lie in the way you react as what is called as sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Now you would hear a lot about this in some manuals or some articles that you read about and things like that. I'm not saying that the other nervous systems are not important. I'm bringing this combination of two, sympathetic and parasympathetic, to explain what rajasic and sattvic or tamasic kind of states are. So the sympathetic nervous system is what we call as the fight and the flight response. It is the energy of movement. So if I'm moving my hand, it is happening because I want that action to happen. And this is my sympathetic nervous system in play, where I'm indicating through my brain that I want to move my hand. I want to move my hand up. I want to move my hand to the right. Whereas this normal state that I am in, relaxing, everything inside is doing what it needs to do, breathing, pumping oxygen, pumping blood, processing sugar into energy, whatever is happening inside the body, everything in its own normal state. Again, governed a lot by the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, that is about what the nervous system is. Why am I talking again in the context of this? When I'll take a simple example of exercise, or let's not go to exercise. We're talking about yoga, so let's talk about say Surya Namaskar or any movement that you do. Simple, let's say a cat cow. I'm going to do a seated cat cow. I'm going to inhale and arch my entire back, right? And I'm going to exhale and arch in, tucking the chin to the chest and arching. Again, inhale and exhale. Now, if you've been in a yoga class, you would hear every single time an instructor telling you to inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale, and to match your movement of whatever you're doing, be it Surya Namaskar, be it an asana, be it even proper breathing pranayama techniques, right? Inhale and exhale. Why do we do that? So when you inhale, you are absorbing a lot more of oxygen. Your entire system is processing it and converting it and pumping it to the rest of the body. When you exhale, everything is being emptied and it is going into a resting state. That is your parasympathetic nervous system. Again, remember to get active, inhale. To relax, exhale. And get active, activate the muscle. You want to stand, so I want to stretch. What do you do to stretch? You need to activate your muscle. So again, inhale. This is lengthening, this is stretching all the muscles. And then you're relaxing. So again, exhale. So you see how inhale and exhale are very important to anything that you do in terms of not just the yoga asana practice, but any other things that you do for running or anything. Breath is very, very critical. And the breath is what triggers that particular muscle or relaxes the particular muscle as and when it is required. So whenever I have seen people do some deep stretching exercises. So for example, I'm going to hold my foot. Um, um, I forgot the name of the asana. It's just a side wall twist. Now this is a very intense asana. So sometimes you wouldn't have deep flexion ready for you to do, and you will not be able to get into that pose. Now, you can always struggle and hustle and bustle and everything, but you may not be able to reach. Try this. Inhale and see if you're able to reach further. And once you reach, don't hold your breath because then you're struggling. You're not letting your muscles relax. Remember, exhale relaxes your muscle. So then exhale slowly. You will automatically see that your muscles will relax after they are stretched. So it is very essential that anything and everything that you do, you you bring in this aspect of inhale and exhale. And that doesn't just apply to asana practice. You're sitting somewhere, something goes wrong, and you're getting agitated. Take a breath, exhale as long as you can. Automatically, you will find that you are relaxed. Even now, if you're watching this video, take a moment. Let's take 3 breaths, right? Inhale, exhale slowly, softly, as long as possible. Follow me. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. How do you feel? I feel I at least feel very relaxed instantaneously as soon as I did that because I exhaled a little longer. So I gave a lot more time for the body to relax and calm itself down. So if you want energy, quick pulses, breathe faster, take in more oxygen, and always inhale, exhale with your shoulders wide, your chest wide, because then your rib cage is open, your lungs can take in more oxygen. And that's the only reason why we say keep your shoulders rolled back, chest open, and your back straight. If you're like this, your lungs are already struggling to find space, and then you breathe. You can't breathe more than that because your lungs are not able to expand. So sit straight and then expand and take a breath. So, why did I talk about gunas and why did I talk about breathing? Your breathing can also control your guna, right? And to be making the choice of going from Rajasic to Sattvic can also be controlled by your breath. So, this is a small thing that I would leave in terms of how you want to practice or put it into action on a day to day basis. Of course, there are other techniques like I told about chitta prasadanam, cultivating that opposite virtue and everything. But all of that will happen when you're switching to the sattvic mode and you take that moment and you convert your reaction into a response and you will be amazed that the simplest tool that you have with you is your breath that can simply make that change happen without even you working really hard and trying to figure out how can I make that change happen. So that's why I wanted to leave you with the concept of the nervous system so you understand that there is science behind it. It's not just that somebody just woke up and said that, hey, your breath will do magical things, or if you breathe around, say everything will be fine. There is a reason why that is told, or there is a reason why you need to even practice that when you're doing exercises or yoga asanas. So anytime when I'm in a meeting, taking too long, I can't do anything about it, but I just need to be there, breathing. Simplest, sit, breathe, inhale, exhale. You want more energy, inhale longer. You want to relax and feel calmer, exhale longer. If you don't want either of those, you can breathe equally and you can breathe out equally. So I hope that was helpful in terms of understanding the gunas and how you can put that when you're experiencing day-to-day life or interacting with people or even doing mundane things in your life. You can always make that switch from Rajasic to Sattvic. And again, remember, all this is because you want to be at peace and not frustrated and agitated and aggravated at all times. You want to have that moment of stillness with you, regardless of the number of things that you're doing. And these small techniques and philosophies and everything are just my gift to you as in a discovery session, but you can always go to a proper course to learn more about this if you feel like this could transform your life. It did for me, and I hope that I could help be the catalyst to help you discover that these things exist that you can put into action. So, on that note, I bring this Discovery in series to an end. We'll follow it up next week with a little bit more on exploration, so you can figure out what works best for you and how you can put them into use. Namaste. Have a beautiful day ahead.